Just as the whole world's switching towards greener methods of energy consumption and transportation, so is Volkswagen. We've seen the sheer amount of hype around electric cars, but have always wondered how they'll enter the mainstream. Well, Volkswagen has taken the first step in switching to all-electric cars in Norway at least. In this video, we'll go over everything you need to know about this new development. Let's dive into it. Firstly, Volkswagen plans to launch all-electric vehicles in Norway. Volkswagen is ditching gasoline and hybrid cars completely and is aiming to provide only all-electric vehicles in Norway by the end of next year. Techno seems to state that later this week, Volkswagen Norway is going to announce its decision to cut off all sales of gasoline and hybrid cars on the 1st of January 2024. While the planned announcement is a significant move for the automaker, it's also a reflection of where the Norwegian new car market is heading towards. And let's just say, it's green energy all the way. The country's aim is to stop the sale of new passenger cars with internal combustion engines, ICE, by the end of 2025. Thanks to strong incentives, such as exemption from sales tax, lower annual registration fees, tax breaks, and free access to toll highways, Norway has led the world in the adoption of electric vehicles. Now, if only the rest of the world could join them. It should be mentioned that Norway is a highly successful producer and exporter of oil and gas, whose output is largely regulated by the government. In fact, some reports even state that Norway was the world's 11th largest oil producer in 2021, so they're no underdog in the market, that's for sure. Despite this, around 88% of new automobile purchases in 2022 from the country have been electric vehicles. This year, they account for almost 80% of Volkswagen's sales in Norway. Next up, let's take a closer look at the current situation. As we talked about earlier in the video, Volkswagen is cutting off sales of all petrol, diesel, and hybrid cars. We're expecting the director of Volkswagen to announce this in the coming week. This means the automotive company is switching to fully electric passenger cars 2 years before the state's goal. The goal was that 100% of all new car sales in Norway must be zero emission by the end of 2025, and the automotive company definitively seems to be ahead of the pack in this case. While talking to Techno, he said that the 2025 target has been a huge success, with cross-party agreement and good means of action, but the company is only a little bit along the way, because there's still a large part of the car fleet on the passenger car side that are not zero-emission cars. Only 18% of the car fleet is fully electric today, and when the company looks to the future, they have to look at what the target should be. Moving on, Volkswagen seems to be meeting electric vehicle goals head-on. Heknebi, the director of Volkswagen, wishes to discuss the exact year when the country will become completely electric, but he also wants to make sure that Volkswagen is in the lead, and it looks like it's not going to be a small lead either. The company plans to ideally be 5 years ahead of the rest of the market. So, let's say if other car companies switch to electric by the year 2040, Volkswagen wants to be there by 2035. That's not exactly a small goal to set. While talking to reporters, he said that they are in a better position than the market today, with a zero-emission share of the car fleet of 22%. Adding to this, the director wants there to be stronger incentives from authorities. The director naturally still wants more strong incentives from the authorities to ensure further electrification. For example, he points to the scrap deposit as a tool that can be used to bring about faster replacements of the car fleet. He says that if they can achieve a new long-term goal that everyone is behind, then they will go ahead and cut off sales of diesel, petrol, and plug-in hybrid cars at Volkswagen by the 1st of January 2024. If this happens, it means next year will be the last year they will sell gasoline vehicles at Volkswagen, which for a number of years has been Norway's most purchased car brand. It sends a clear message to policymakers, customers, and fellow business people. When the reporters asked if the all-electric goal is a requirement or a wish, Communications Director Eivind Ragnlian Skovli clarified that they're going ahead regardless, but that they hope and believe it helps to bring in all good forces. In 2022, so far, it seems like Volkswagen has managed to boast about 6,900 new registered electric passenger cars from a total of 8,500. That's a share of almost 81%, which is certainly no small number. However, Volkswagen is not the only automaker in Norway with a sizable percentage of electric vehicles. Hyundai and Nissan both have about 90%, while sister group Audi has a year-to-date percentage of 97%. Of course, there are also companies like Tesla and Polestar that specialize in selling electric vehicles, so it's definitely going to be interesting to see how Volkswagen Volkswagen tackles all the challenges. Finally, why is Volkswagen ditching hybrid vehicles? Ditching gasoline vehicles makes quite a lot of sense, as car companies see the future to be all electric. But why is Volkswagen dropping hybrids from their production line? Well, it turns out that they're not completely shutting down the production of hybrid vehicles. They still make up the largest portion of the company's sought-after vehicles. The problem is the shortage of semiconductors and chips. The German automaker has said that just as chip troubles were beginning to ease, the Russian invasion of Ukraine destabilized its supply chain, so they had to delay the production of certain cars, most of which were the hybrid ones. Now, in other news. First off, Biden's EV subsidy has a flaw. Very few vehicles will be eligible for it. The recently passed EV subsidy has a major problem. There's a condition for the $7,500 tax credit for electric vehicles included in the historic U.S. climate legislation. This means that in the coming years, not even a single car will qualify for the subsidy. In simple words, as the Biden administration seeks to wean Americans off internal combustion engines, the upcoming suspension of the tax credit may make EVs less affordable, at least for the time being. It shows an effort to promote low-carbon transportation while continuing to support homegrown battery vehicle production. The bill that President Joe Biden signed last week states that all EVs that are sold in the US must be built in North America in order to be eligible for the credit. So if you think this criteria is hard to meet right now, wait till 2024. The bill states that even the battery components for qualified EVs can't be manufactured or assembled by any foreign country. And as you'd expect, this includes China, which is the world's largest battery manufacturer. By 2025, the batteries will also not be allowed to contain certain minerals that have been mined, processed, or recycled in the same foreign nations. A growing portion would have to come from North America or selected trading partners. The administration released a list of 21 models qualified for credits for the remainder of 2022 under the North American Final Assembly rule. Currently, there are 72 EVs on the market in the US, according to a manufacturer association called the Alliance for Automotive Innovation. Next up, the problem with big tires in electric vehicles that we can't ignore. The Lucid Air Dream Edition has a range of up to 520 miles per charge, which is greater than that of any other electric car currently on the market. But 39 of those miles are lost in a blink if a buyer opts for the larger 21-inch wheels, resulting in a 7.5% range loss, which is, let's just say, quite significant. To be fair, the larger shoes do have a great style, and you can still travel non-stop from New York to Cleveland wearing them. However, the struggle between physics and style is increasing when it comes to wheels and tires, which is the point where the rubber actually meets the road in the case of electric vehicles. According to Chevrolet's exterior design director, Richard Scheer, everything is about range, so making something slipperier is important. But even in the future of electric vehicles, some individuals will sacrifice range for stylish wheels. Simply put, a tire made for range resembles the Michelin Energy Saver on a 17-inch wheel with a swirly center of spokes that comes standard on the Chevrolet Bolt. Lastly, Australia is planning on boosting EVs to combat carbon emissions. The Australian government is planning to introduce some new regulations around gasoline cars to reduce carbon emissions and boost the sales of EVs in the country. As Australia strives to promote the use of electric vehicles and catch up with other industrialized nations, a bank there proposes to stop lending money for new diesel and gasoline cars. Small incentives are being taken, but will it be enough for a greener future for Australia? Only time will tell. That's a wrap for this video. Do you think Volkswagen will succeed in their EV-only goal? Let us know in the comments below. Make sure to give this video a thumbs up and subscribe to our channel for more videos like this. See you at the next one.